We are going to do our big class Bible drills, and we're going to start with books of the Bible. So how many books are in the Bible? 66. How many books are in the Old Testament? 39. How many books are in the New Testament? 27. Okay, who thinks they can name them? Let's do the Old Testament first. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, Daniel, Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. Good job. Let's do our New Testament. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, Romans, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, 1st and 2nd Timothy, Titus, Philemon, Hebrews, James, 1st and 2nd Peter, 1st and 2nd, 3rd John, Jude, and Revelation. Good job. What are these 5 things God told Moses to go to Egypt to tell Pharaoh to let my people go? Did Pharaoh let God's people go? No. So how many plagues did God send? 10. Okay, let's name them. The water turned to blood, the frogs, the lice, the flies, the cattle died, the boils, the hail, the locusts, the darkness, and the firstborn died. Now we're going to do our 12 sons of Jacob, or our 12 tribes of Israel. The first one is the one that sounds like a sandwich, as Miss Emily would say. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, and Joseph. Good job. Which tribe was the smallest tribe? Benjamin. Which tribe did the priests come from? Levi. And which tribe did Jesus come from? Judah. Now we're going to do our 12 apostles. Peter, Andrew, James, John, Philip, Bartholomew, Thomas, Matthew, James the son of Alphaeus, Thaddeus, Simon the Canaanite, and Judas Iscariot. Which one of the 12 betrayed Jesus? Judas Iscariot. How did he betray Jesus? He kissed him on the cheek. Now, is it bad to kiss someone on the cheek? No. Why was it bad when Judas did it? Because it told the Roman soldiers who Jesus was. And what did the Roman soldiers do to Jesus? They crucified him.
Good morning, big class. I'm so glad that we get to see you again this morning, and we were so excited that we got to go back into our church building to worship together. And thank you for joining our Bible class. I know it's still so sad that we don't get to have Bible class together in the building, but hopefully soon we will. So we're going to take a little break from the heroes of the Bible, and we are going to start talking about Bible Bowl. Bible Bowl 2020. I hope you haven't forgotten this. I know everything has been going so crazy, but guys, we still have Bible Bowl coming up, and we need to be studying 2 Kings. 2 Kings is where we will be spending the next couple of lessons, and be prepared. We're going to be learning some super cool stories. So the first story that we're going to talk about is Elijah and Elisha. So both of these men you will read about in 1 Kings and 2 Kings. 1 Kings deals more with Elijah, and 2 Kings talks more about Elisha. Both of these men are prophets. Elijah could hear the voice of God. That's what it means to be a prophet, is hearing the voice of God. And God told Elijah to anoint Elisha as a prophet. And what's really cool is Elisha ends up learning so many things from Elijah. So our story today is from 2 Kings chapter 2. 2 Kings chapter 2. And it came to pass, when the Lord was about to take up Elijah into heaven by a whirlwind, that Elijah went with Elisha from Gilgal. Do you see this picture? Elijah is supposed to be taken up in a whirlwind? What a story. I wonder what happened to get to the point where Elijah is going to be taken up to heaven. Well, let's keep reading. In verse 2, it says, Then Elijah said to Elisha, Stay here, please, for the Lord has sent me on to Bethel. But Elisha said, As the Lord lives, and as your soul lives, I will not leave you. So they went down to Bethel. Now the sons of the prophets who were at Bethel came out to Elisha and said to him, Do you know that the Lord will take away your master from over you today? And he said, Yes, I know. Keep silent. Verse 4. Then Elijah said to him, Elisha, stay here, please, for the Lord has sent me on to Jericho. But he said, As the Lord lives and as your soul lives, I will not leave you. So they came to Jericho. Now the sons of the prophets who were at Jericho came to Elisha and said to him, Do you know that the Lord will take away your master from over you today? So he answered, Yes, I know. Keep silent. Then Elijah said to him, Stay here, please, for the Lord has sent me on to the Jordan. But he said, As the Lord lives and as your soul lives, I will not leave you. So the two of them went on, and 50 men of the sons of the prophets went and stood facing them at a distance, while the two of them stood by the Jordan. Verse 8. Now Elijah took his mantle, rolled it up, and struck the water. And a mantle, I didn't know what a mantle was. It's a piece of clothing. So do you see his clothing that he's holding? He rolled it up and he struck the water. That means he hit the water. And it was divided this way and that, so that the two of them crossed over on dry ground. And so it was, when they had crossed over, that Elijah said to Elisha, Ask, what may I do for you before I am taken away from you? Elisha said, Please let a double portion of your spirit be upon me. So he said, You have asked a hard thing. Nevertheless, if you see me when I am taken from you, it shall be so for you. But if not, it shall not be so. So let's stop for a second. So Elijah says, I'm about to be taken up. What do you want me to give you? What do you want me to do for you? And Elisha was very, very wise in asking a double portion of your spirit. Elisha wanted to be like Elijah. But Elijah didn't just say yes. He said, if you see me when I go up, then it will happen. But if you don't see me, then it won't happen. So take a guess right now. What do you think happened? Do you think Elisha saw Elijah going up into the whirlwind, or do you think he did not? Let's keep reading to find out. Verse 11, Then it happened, as they continued on and talked, that suddenly a chariot of fire appeared with horses of fire and separated the two of them. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. And Elisha saw it, and he cried out, my father, the chariot of Israel and its horsemen. Did you guess correctly? Did you guess that Elisha saw Elijah going up? If you guessed correctly, if you guessed that, then you are correct. So he saw him no more, and he took hold of his own clothes and tore them into two pieces. He also took up the mantle of Elijah that had fallen from him. He went back and stood by the bank of the Jordan. This looks very familiar. Won't you take a second and guess? What do you think Elisha is going to do with a mantle? Verse 14. Then he took the mantle of Elijah that had fallen from him and struck the water and said, where is the Lord God of Elijah? And when he also had struck the water, it was divided this way and that. And Elisha crossed over. Now, when the sons of the prophets who were from Jericho saw him, they said, the spirit of Elijah rests on Elisha. And they came to meet him and bowed to the ground before him. So, listening to this story, Elijah was this great prophet who could hear the words of God being spoken to him, and he was taken up into heaven. Guys, what that means is that he did not die and go to heaven. Elijah went up to heaven like the fire just came down and took him, or the whirlwind came and took him, which is so crazy because that's not the way that we get to heaven today. It's so amazing to think about. My favorite part of this story is about the chariot of fire with the horses and how it split Elisha and Elijah in two, not split them in two, but divided them apart. That is my favorite part. What was your favorite part? So boys and girls, I encourage you, please, please, please study for Bible Bowl. Bible Bowl 2020 is coming. 2 Kings is full of amazing stories. Here's your challenge for this week. I want you to find one person to retell this story to. Go find one person and tell them the story of Elijah and the story of Elisha. Bye, big class.
Good morning. It's Miss Deshawn, and Sadie's not with me today. She was too busy playing, so she'll just have to sing it later with me. So you guys just listened to a story about Elijah. We're talking about 2 Kings in Bible Bowl this year, and so we're going to learn a story that's really cool, and you guys just learned some really cool things about Elijah. So this song is all about Elijah, and then at the end of the song, we're going to do something different. We're going to play a little game. Okay, so here's this song about old Elijah. Okay. Old Elijah was a prophet, serving God so very faithfully. When his life on earth was over, God took him, as we shall see. God took him up to heaven. Fiery chariot and the horses came in a great big whirlwind. Oh, praise Jehovah's mighty name. Elisha was walking with Elijah, would not leave him as they went along. He loved his friend very dearly and would never do him wrong. God took him up to heaven. Fiery chariot and the horses came in a great big whirlwind. Oh, praise Jehovah's mighty name. When Elijah started started to ascend, he threw his cloak upon the ground. Elisha knew he would be blessed. Spirit then in him was found. God took him up to heaven. Fiery chariot and the horses came in a great big whirlwind. Oh, praise Jehovah's mighty name. 50 prophets looking for Elijah thought God maybe placed him on a mount, but they never found the prophet. They searched 3 days as we count. God took him up to heaven. Fiery chariot and the horses came in a great big whirlwind. Oh, praise Jehovah's mighty name. Now that was a really long song all about Elijah and how he was taken up to heaven. But so we learned all about Elijah and how he was taken up to heaven. Hey, do y'all want to come say hi since you're in here anyway? Okay, so here's Sadie. And there's Ann, her cousin Ann, and her cousin Amelia. Where's little Amelia? Let's see Amelia. Okay, can you guys all say hi?
Hi.
Okay, now I'm going to get back to my lesson, okay?
Let's go.
All right, bye. Okay, so let's continue. We're going to do something a little bit different, okay? We're going to review what you guys learned about Elijah with their story, okay? And this game is called Yes or No. So if you think what I'm telling you is true from the Bible, you're going to do the sign language for yes, okay? Here's the sign language for yes. You make a fist, and you're going to move your hand kind of like you're shaking your head yes. Can you do that with me? Can you do yes for sign language? This is yes. Okay. Now, if you think what I'm telling you is wrong and it's not what the Bible says, then you're going to show me no. So here's how to do no in sign language. Okay. You're going to do your fist again, but I want you to put out those 2 fingers and your thumb. Okay. And you're going to put them together kind of like a mouth. Can you make the mouth close and do no? Maybe if I turn it this way, you can kind of see how those 2 fingers are touching the thumb. Okay, and so this is no. So here's yes, and here's no. Okay, now if those are kind of hard for you, you can just say yes or no. All right, so here's the first question about Elijah. Elijah was a prophet of Baal. Was Elijah a prophet of Baal? Show me yes or no. What do you think? Oh, that's a no. Elijah was not a prophet of Baal. A Baal was not somebody that we should be worshiping. Okay, that's an idol. We don't worship idols, so that's a no. All right, second one. Elijah served God. Is that a yes or a no? That's a yes. He did. He served God like we serve God. Very good. Number 3, Elijah's friend was named Elisha. They had very similar names. Was Elijah's friend named Elisha? Do you think that's a yes or a no? That's a yes. Elijah was a prophet, and so was his friend Elisha. He was also a prophet. Okay, number 4. As Elijah and Elisha were talking, a chariot of fire and horses of fire appeared. Do you think that really happened? If you think it did, show me yes. If you think no, that it never happened, show me no. What do you think? That's a yes. That actually happened. Yes, isn't that amazing? And we know it happened because the Bible tells us. And number 5, Elijah went to heaven in an elevator. Did Elijah go to heaven in an elevator? No, he did not go to heaven in an elevator. What did he go to heaven in? A whirlwind. A whirlwind. Okay, next. As Elijah went up to heaven, he dropped his shoe. Did Elijah drop his shoe? Yes or no? Oh, that's a no. Elijah didn't drop his shoe. Do you know what he dropped? He dropped his cloak or his mantle, as it says in the New King James. That's like a piece of clothing. Okay. Number 7, 50 strong men went looking for Elijah because after he went up to heaven, they couldn't find him. Was that a yes or a no? Did 50 strong men go looking for Elijah? Yes. I bet you guys are getting all these right. Okay, last one. These 50 strong men, they searched for 3 seconds. Do you think they searched for 3 seconds to find Elijah? Yes or no? What do you think? 3 seconds. How long is 3 seconds? 1, 2, 3. You think that's all they searched? No. How long did they search for Elijah? They searched for 3 days. I was trying to trick you. 3 days. Okay? So you guys learned a lot today about Elijah. I hope next time we're going to learn some more really cool stories from 2 Kings. See you later. Bye.
Wow, I got so excited in church this morning, I nearly hopped out of my pew. Zowie zam, I'm not jiving either, Betty. What a morning.
Was it something the preacher said that got you so excited?
Who?
The preacher? You know, Brother Steve?
Oh no, he wasn't in it.
He wasn't in it. Leroy, he preached the sermon this morning, remember? It was on the prodigal son.
Oh, Betty, good grief. I didn't mean he wasn't in church. I meant he wasn't in my dream.
Your dream?
Yeah, and was it ever a good one? Listen to this. There I was, standing calmly on Main Street, when all of a sudden here come 3 robbers followed by a whole gob of cops. The policemen were having a hard time catching those rotten robbers, so I put on my super duper Mighty Mouse running shoes and caught those yucky robbers. I grabbed all their ears and held their noses until the police caught up with us. It was in all the newspapers. I was such a hero.
I've heard everything now. Oh, Leroy, you're just wonderful.
Want my autograph?
You're just great. I just can't believe you did all that. It's a good thing you can't believe it, Lucy, because none of it's true. But I just heard Leroy say. But it was all a dream he had at church this morning, Lucy. Calm down.
But as great and brave and wonderful as I am, it could have easily happened to me, and I'm not jiving either.
Well, it's too bad I wasn't sitting next to you in church this morning, or it wouldn't have happened the first time.
And why not?
And why not? Because I've punched you to wake you up just as soon as you fell asleep.
Wake up? What for? Knowing I'm having such a great dream, why should I wake up?
Because you were missing Brother Steve's sermon.
So what?
So what? Why, Leroy? Listening to the preacher is important.
Not for me. It's important for the bad guys, but I'm a pretty good boy myself. Besides, I'm only 8. I'm too young to have to listen.
Oh, no, you're not. Sermons are not just for bad people. They're for everyone, big or little, good or bad.
If you listen, God will bless you, and you will hear something to help you in your life.
Sounds boring.
Oh, no, it's not. Sometimes the preacher tells us about real exciting things that happened in the Bible. It was so neat to hear the story of the prodigal son this morning.
Oh, yes. I like the part where the father ran down the road to meet the son. I like happy endings.
After listening to the story this morning, I know better than to run away from home. I think I've got it pretty good. I might have to eat pig's food if I ran off like the prodigal son did.
A boy that ate pig's food? Was that in the story? Ugh, you're kidding.
No, and lots more interesting things. Too bad you missed it.
Yeah, Leroy, that's a real bummer. Were you asleep last Sunday morning too?
Yeah, only I had a nightmare last Sunday. It was not a good dream.
We heard about Peter when he was in prison.
And how a glorious angel came and helped him out of prison.
Wow, I guess I have missed some interesting things.
I always go to bed early on Saturday evenings, so I'll be awake and ready to go early Sunday mornings.
Me too. I'd be so mad at myself if I got sleepy during the service. I don't want to miss anything.
Me either.
I could go to bed earlier on Saturday nights and be awake at church service. Then I could hear those neat things too. But aren't sermons hard to understand?
No, not really. I just ask my Sunday school teacher after church if I don't understand something.
You know what? This sounds pretty cool. Well, I could listen really good and then tell my mom and dad about it when I get home.
That's a great idea, Leroy.
Of course it's a great idea. What else would you expect from a hero like me who can catch 3 bank robbers at once and hold them down by their noses?